They handed her a single magazine and expected her to fail. In the dust and heat of a place where mistakes cost lives, someone decided that one load of bullets was all she deserved. What they did not know was that every round in her hands already had a purpose. Asterisk, what city are you watching from today? If this story resonated with you, hit subscribe for more stories. About extraordinary people. She stood at the edge of the staging area while the rest of the team checked their gear. The air smelled of dry earth and metal. Faces around her were tight, focused, and tired. She was the newest attachment to the unit, quiet, observant, and underestimated. Her name was Lena Hawley, and most of them thought she was just another support operator who had slipped into the roster by luck or paperwork error. When the team leader finished handing out ammunition, he stopped in front of her. He counted once, then again, and finally pressed a single magazine into her palm. No extra, no backup. His voice was flat as he told her to make it last. A few of the men exchanged looks. One of them smirked and said she should stay behind the wall and let the others handle the hard part. Lena nodded. She always nodded. She did not argue. She did not explain. She slid the magazine into her vest and closed the flap with careful fingers. Inside her chest, her breathing stayed slow and steady. She had learned long ago that calm was not a weakness. It was a weapon. The mission was simple on paper and dangerous in reality. A hostile group had taken control of a narrow village route that served as the only safe exit for nearby civilians. The team needed to push through, secure the path, and hold it long enough for families to escape. The terrain was tight, the angles unforgiving, and the margin for error almost non-existent. As they moved out, Lena took her place at the rear, exactly where they expected her to be. She watched everything. She tracked movement, counted steps, and marked distances in her head. Every corner, every doorway, every patch of shadow was measured. The men in front of her carried confidence built on years of training and brotherhood. They did not look back. The first contact came fast. It always did. The air filled with urgency as the team took cover and returned fire. Orders were short and sharp. Lena pressed against the wall, eyes forward, fingers straight along the frame of her weapon. She did not fire. Not yet. Someone shouted for suppressing fire. Another called out a position. Bullets were already being spent at a pace that would leave them light before the job was done. Lena felt the weight of the single magazine against her ribs and knew that every decision she made would echo. A figure moved at the far end of the alley, quick and careless. Lena raised her weapon, aligned her sights, and squeezed once. The figure dropped out of view. She did not celebrate. She did not rush. She lowered the weapon and waited again. The team pushed forward, step by step. Another threat appeared from a rooftop angle that caught the others off guard. Lena shifted her stance, adjusted for distance, and fired once more. The angle was tight. The timing was exact. The threat disappeared. One of the men glanced back at her, surprised. She met his eyes briefly, then looked forward again. There was no time for reactions. Only work. As the minutes stretched on, the pressure increased. Hostiles repositioned. The team took heavier resistance. Voices grew sharper. Ammunition dwindled. Lena stayed quiet, moving only when necessary, firing only when a shot mattered. She did not spray. She did not rush. Each squeeze of the trigger was deliberate, informed by training that went deeper than muscle memory. She had spent years learning patience in places where patience was the difference between survival and loss. She had learned to see patterns where others saw chaos. At one point, a man near the front stumbled as debris exploded nearby. He was exposed for a fraction of a second. Lena did not think. She acted. One shot removed the immediate danger. Another covered the angle long enough for him to get back into position. The team leader called out for status updates. Ammo counts came back low. When it came time for Lena to respond, she said nothing. She did not need to. Her magazine was still seated, not empty, not wasted. As they reached the narrowest part of the route, resistance peaked. This was the point where missions failed, where hesitation or panic turned small errors into disasters. The civilians were close now, waiting for the signal to move. The team had to hold. Lena took a knee and scanned the field with focused intensity. She saw what others miss: a shadow that did not belong, a movement that repeated a pattern. She fired once, then again. Each time, the pressure eased just enough. Someone shouted in disbelief. Another voice asked, who was covering that angle? The answer came in the form of silence and results. When the last of the civilians moved through the secure path, the team fell back to regroup. The firefight ended as abruptly as it had begun. Dust settled. Breathing slowed. The world narrowed back down to reality. The men checked their gear and took stock of what was left. Empty magazines. Low reserves. The team leader turned to Lena and asked how much ammunition she had left. She removed the magazine and handed it to him. It was light but not empty. Only a few rounds were gone. The group stared. One of them counted the impacts they remembered. Another shook his head slowly. The smirk from earlier was gone, replaced by something closer to respect. The team leader looked at her for a long moment, then asked where she learned to shoot like that. Lena answered calmly. She said she learned to shoot when shooting was the last option, not the first. She said she learned when every round had to mean something because there would be no second chances. That was when he recognized the insignia hidden beneath her outer layer. The quiet placement. The deliberate choice to keep it unseen. She was not support. She was a Navy SEAL, attached for a reason, tested in places most of them would never speak about. No one laughed after that. No one questioned her position again. As they moved out together, the dynamic had changed. Trust replaced doubt. Respect replaced assumption. Lena walked among them, still quiet, still focused, but no longer invisible. The mission report would list objectives completed and routes secured. It would not capture the moment when judgment nearly cost them an advantage. It would not explain how restraint and discipline turned limitation into strength. Lena did not ask for recognition. She did not need it. She knew who she was. She knew what she could do. And she knew that sometimes the most powerful thing a person can carry is not extra ammunition, but the control to use exactly what they have. The lesson stayed with them long after the dust cleared. Underestimate someone because they are quiet, because they are different, or because they were given less, and you may miss the truth standing right beside you. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.